On the news, fake CSP journalists linked to Justice Mary Odili's home invasion. And INEC presents certificate of return to SOLUDO. Many thanks for joining us on News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. 13 days after the raid of Justice Mary Odili's residence in the Maitama area of the state capital, the police have arrested 14 suspects in connection to the crime. The police spokesperson, Frank Umba, described the suspects as imposters who were unknown to any of the nation's security forces. According to Umba, the 14 suspects and 7 others now at large conspired to raid the residence following information that the Supreme Court Justice was keeping a large sum of money in foreign currencies. Well, details in this report. Following calls for swift investigation into the raid of Justice Mary Odili's Maitama home on the 29th of October 2021, the Nigeria Police Force have made some key arrests. Parading 14 suspects, the force spokesman Frank Umba reveals details of the conspiracy, which began with a self-styled whistleblower, Aliyu Umar.
It was a bogus claim of whistleblowing, which originated from one Yusuf Adamu. Yusuf Adamu is a civil servant attached to Bauchi State Government Liaison Office here in Abuja. He claims to have a very intimate relationship with the family of the Odilis, and also claims to have inside knowledge of the working arrangements of the family.
When I was introduced to the house, I do some my istihara, and I recovered that the information that I was given for the prayer is real. When I finish my istihara, that is why I go for affidavit. I start my journey from the AFCC. Why I see myself here, he answered me that Ministry of Justice, AFCC is under Ministry of Justice. That is why he asked me for my affidavit, and I gave him. And he told me that he's working in the office. When he asked me for the surveillance, I agree. I go for the surveillance.
A key puzzle in the criminal syndicate is the leader of the operation, a fake chief superintendent of police, Lawrence Ajojo. Questioning his legality to carry out operations, the suspect said he was given authority to operate certain accounts.
There is a mandate of 18 accounts in Nigeria given to me. They give me 29 accounts to recover. They did not give to any shamba. I am the one they give. Malami give to me. But this assignment I went, Malami did not send me. So that's it. I'm a consultant. I'm a recovery.
On his part, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has distanced himself from the confessions of the fake Chief Superintendent of Police, telling him to produce evidence of contractual agreement between himself and the Ministry of Justice. Another suspect, Stanley Nwazema, who claimed to be a freelance journalist with This Day newspaper, failed to explain why he did not report to the media organization he claims to work for.
Are you a staff of This Day or you freelance for This Day?
I am a staff of This Day. Mr. Alex Onyekoro, who is seated here, called me when he told me that KWAM has a lead of a scoop of an asset recovery and funds that they claim to be in a house that nobody is residing, that it involves millions of dollars. That was when he now told me about Lawrence Ajojo. The day we had the first meeting to find out, I found discrepancies in his ID card.
This Day newspaper, in a statement, has clarified that Stanley Nwazema is not a staff of the media outfit, but explained that the suspect was a staff of the publication more than 15 years ago. The raid on Justice Odili's home has been widely condemned, with the Supreme Court drawing comparisons between it and the similar one carried out by the State Security Service operatives on the houses of some judges in 2016. Folashade Ogurinde, TV360 News. The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has presented a certificate of return to Chukwuma SOLUDO, the winner of the Anambra State governorship election. SOLUDO, a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), received the certificate of return in a ceremony on Friday in Awka. The Anambra governor-elect had polled a total of 112,229 votes, beating the PDP and APC by a wide margin.
Of the All Progressive Branch Alliance, ABRA, who has been elected to the office of Governor of Anambra State, which election was conducted on the 6th and 9th day of November 2021. This certificate has been signed by Professor Mahmoud, who is the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. So I present this certificate to you.
The National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, is the latest government agency seeking self-sufficiency and independence from the federal budgetary allocation. Managing Director of the agency, George Mogalu, made this known when he appeared before a joint committee of the National Assembly on Maritime Transport. But he had a tough time convincing lawmakers to accept his proposal, as they faulted his presentation for having too many discrepancies. Our correspondent, Anita Patrick, has more in the story.
Lawmakers are still meeting with ministries, departments and agencies of government for budget defense and are putting finishing touches to the reports before presenting to the Appropriations Committee for collation. At this budget defense session with a joint committee on maritime transport, the Managing Director of the National Inland Waterways Authority informs lawmakers of plans to become a self-sustaining agency without having to depend on government funding by way of annual budgetary allocations.
It is noteworthy to reiterate that as a deliberate policy drive towards attaining financial autonomy, the authority exited the overhead allocation in 2020 and now poised to opting out of the current allocation comprising both overhead and personnel costs, effective from the 2022 budget, with a view to becoming fully autonomous by 2023.
But it wasn't a walk in the park, as he had a tough time convincing lawmakers on why they should agree with the move. The committee members say the move will only make the agency less accountable, thus enabling corruption.
Most of the agencies that they have autonomy, that is the truth. And I can mention so many agencies like that, that by the time you zero down and you take a critical look at the presentation, you just know that the more you are looking, the less you understand what they are presenting to you. I won't say that, Mr. Chairman and Chairman. You see, NIWA is located in my Central District. And I do know that the last time I saw you last year, but let me tell you, there were a lot of complaints about that agency. We want Nigeria to move forward. Let us do things the way it should be done. Let there be proper accountability system, check and balances.
In view of the various inconsistencies observed in your budget, you have to make a fresh submission for our consideration. Thank you.
The Managing Director of the National Inland Waterways Authority, George Mogalu, presented 12 billion naira as proposed budget estimate for the 2022, with 21 billion naira as the total proposed internally generated revenue for the next fiscal year. While the committee picked holes in the agency's presentation, the Managing Director of the agency gave further clarification on some of the ongoing projects in Lagos being carried out by NIWA.
We have done quite a lot in terms of infrastructural development in line with our responsibility. We've done quite a lot in Lagos, so what they require is further explanation, and that's what we are trying to do. They want a detailed report on what we have done in Lagos, and we're going to give it to them.
In the meantime, the Appropriation Committee has started receiving reports from other committees for collation before presenting it to the Senate for approval. The Senate hopes to conclude this exercise and pass the 2022 appropriation bill before the end of the year. Anita Patrick, TV360, Abuja.
But let's now head back to the story where the Nigerian Police Force has announced that the missing Vanguard reporter identified as SALEM, who was founded in Abuja, was a victim of a hit-and-run incident. Parading the arrested suspect during a press briefing at the force headquarters, police spokesperson Frank Umba revealed that SALEM was murdered on Magabushi Highway in the Federal Capital Territory. Explaining why he did not stop after knocking down the reporter, the arrested suspect said the area is known for criminal activities.
Henry, who is a journalist working with Vanguard newspapers, one of the leading Nigeria news media, and whose beat is the National Assembly, where he plies his trade or plied his trade while alive, was last seen on 13th of October 2021. A friend of his had reportedly dropped him off at a gas station somewhere on Shehu Shagari Way, and from that moment he was never seen again. His movement was trailed up to BJ Gardens, located somewhere in Gariki, close to OCBN. A young lady that had interaction with him on the night of disappearance was located, and detectives spoke to her. A major breakthrough was, however, made. One eToro claimant, who happens to be a commercial driver in charge of a Toyota Camry 2014 model,
was coming. After the Mabuchi Bridge, going to the market, where those forest is, someone was crossing, first person crossed, the second one ran into me. The person ran into me, knocked out the person. I moved on. The reason why I didn't stop in that place, they have attacked me there before. It's on my phone. That same month. So I turned around to that where they have checking points to try and report that I knocked someone down. Getting there, I just stand there and talk to the police. Then I left to go and park my vehicle because my vehicle was damaged. I had injury on my hand.
A returning migrant's biggest hurdle is often where to sleep, reintegrate and readapt into society. As a solution to this challenge, the European Union and the International Organization for Migration, in partnership with the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, has built a transit center for returning migrants in Lagos State. The center will serve as a smooth transition for migrants returning to their communities of origin. Our correspondent, Mojisola Matami, tells us more in this report.
Every year, an estimated 600,000 to 800,000 men, women and children are trafficked across international borders. A handful of these irregular migrants who eventually find their way back into the country are usually left with no place to stay. This is the driving force behind the establishment of this transit center, which is built to accommodate 400 migrants between 2 to 12 nights.
Today marks a very important occasion as we sign the 5-year trilateral engagement efforts that will allow the transit center to be used to receive beneficiaries or people who are arriving and house temporarily vulnerable cases in need of protection, and ensure that family tracing for unaccompanied minors, cases requiring mental health and psychosocial support, and victims of human trafficking are adequately attended to.
IOM has partnered with LASEMA and the Lagos State government with support from the EU to host the incoming returnees who can stay up to from 2 to 12 nights here and rest, connect with their family, do family tracing, assess their needs, and also get skills training if they want to, so that they can build up their competencies.
While lauding the efforts of the European Union and the International Organization for Migration, the Director General of LASEMA, Femi Okiosonyitolu, says structures like these complement efforts of the government and the international community towards returnees.
This new facility will help us not only to better understand migrants, but also to establish a dialogue on the dangers of irregular migration with the thousands of migrants transiting to Lagos.
Head of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons Office, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, says support from citizens will help in the full rehabilitation and quick reintegration of returnees into the society.
Basically, this is a transit center for voluntary returns. So this is a temporary center for us to be able to profile them, to do the contact tracing, to train them before they proceed onwards with their lives. This is the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa, so this is highly commendable.
The newly launched center will help returnees finalize their return plans, contact their family, and ensure the existence of social contacts. Mojisola Matomi, TV360, Lagos.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, FG increases prices of electricity meters. For details of the story and more right after this break. Welcome back. Now here is a quick reminder of some of our top stories tonight. 13 days after the raid of Justice Mary Odili's residence in the Maitama area of the state capital, the police have arrested 14 suspects in connection to the crime. The police spokesperson, Frank Umba, described the suspects as imposters who were unknown to any of the nation's security forces. According to Umba, the 14 suspects and 7 others now at large conspired to raid the residence following information that the Supreme Court Justice was keeping a large sum of money in foreign currencies. We also told you that a commercial driver, Itoro Clement, has been arrested by the police as a suspect in the death of the Vanguard journalist TORDUE SALEM. The force public relations officer, Frank Umba, said Clement was arrested following an investigation carried out by the Force Intelligence Bureau. While speaking to journalists during the parade, Clement Itoro admitted to have knocked off an unknown pedestrian at about 10 p.m. the same day TORDUE SALEM went missing. But in case you missed any of our news bulletin, for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are at TV360 Online. President Muhammadu Buhari has urged world leaders and global health institutions to allow free access to the COVID-19 vaccines. In a statement signed by presidential spokesman Femi Adesina, Buhari revealed that the export restrictions that encourage needless hoarding of vaccines need to be lifted, while welcoming the pledges of industrialized countries to share vaccines. The president also urged first world countries to fulfill pledges made to developing nations. I will take a break here and return with more stories and business. To stay with us. Well, up next is business news and stock market review with Mary Kanu. Over to you, Mary. Well, thank you, Folashade. And in business, the federal government has raised the cost of both single-phase and three-phase electricity meters beginning from November 15, 2021. It announced this in a circular issued by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission and addressed to managing directors, electricity distribution companies, and all meter asset providers. In the document, the regulator raised the price of a single-phase meter from the current cost of over 44,000 naira to a revised price of over 58,000 naira, while the price of a three-phase meter was raised from the current cost of over 82,000 naira to a revised rate of over 109,000 naira. But we'll take a break here and return with a review of the stock market. Do stay with us. The bear is definitely having a go at the bull as the NGX witnessed 3 days of tussle in the trading week, leaving the bull with only 2 days as the week ends with more losses than gains. The all-share index fell by 0.68%, slicing 154 billion naira off the market capitalization. Now, this is all thanks to losses from real estate giant UPDC and livestock alongside 21 other losers. Now, the losses spread to the activity chart as there was a 40% decline in volume and 62% decline in turnover. Now, despite these losses, Veritas Capital Assurance and Red Star Express alongside 11 other equities were today's top gainers. Now, moving on to some selected global stocks. It is a mixed trading day with more greens than red as the US stock Dow Jones and Asian stock Nikkei are rounding up the trading week in the green at 0.49% and 1.13%, while UK stock FTSE seems to have given up trying for the day and was dragged lower by drug maker AstraZeneca following its profit miss, as FTSE has finished the week trading at 0.48% loss. Well, that's all on stock market review. Over now to Folashade.
Thank you very much, Mary, for that update. On the foreign scene, the Ethiopian government has set out conditions for possible ceasefire talks with leaders of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF. Foreign Ministry spokesman Dina Mufti explained that one of the conditions for possible talks would be for the TPLF to withdraw from the Amhara and Afar regions bordering Tigray. Dina added that the TPLF must recognize the legitimacy of the government. Well, up next is Entertainment Reporter News Now.
Nigerian singer REEKADO Banks has announced the release of his new extended play titled Where Did We Stop?, marking his re-emergence into the music scene. The EP consists of 5 tracks, including a song named after popular American actress Lupita Nyong'o. Others include Pulling Up, Selection, and Self-Esteem. The former Maven act, who had been noticeably absent from the music scene, released his last EP, Off the Record, in November 2020. REEKADO, who left Maven Records in December 2018, described his 5 years on the music label as the most blissful years of his career. US-based comedian ELENU has lampooned Fuji musician KWAM on Instagram, accusing him of delaying his tour in the country and demanding a refund of his money. ELENU made this post shortly after the singer, in an interview, gave reasons for the breach of contract. KWAM explained that his band members were not granted visas by officials of the embassy because they were not interviewed. Responding to the interview, ELENU stated that the musician and his manager did not mention that his band members had visa issues, but insisted on a refund of his money from both parties. And that is all there is on the entertainment segment of News Now.
Away from entertainment and now to sports, Super Eagles midfielder Wilfred NDIDI is soliciting support as the team faces the Lone Star of Liberia on tomorrow in the first of two final fixtures of the second round of the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. The Leicester City player missed match days 3 and 4 of the qualifiers against the Central African Republic, both home and away, due to an injury he sustained while on club duties. NDIDI said in Tangier that the players knew what they want, but Nigerians must remain resolute in support of the Eagles. That's it on our news bulletin. Many thanks for watching. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Bye for now.